Waitress found a photo in his wallet. The girl beside him had the same scar as her daughter. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Maria had worked at the same diner in downtown Chicago for the past 6 years. She was used to serving wealthy customers, from business tycoons to celebrities, each one more demanding than the last. But she had always kept to herself, never drawing attention. She preferred it that way. Her life outside the diner was simple. She had a daughter, Lily, who was everything to her. Maria's ex-husband had left them both years ago, and she had managed to raise Lily on her own. They didn't have much, but they had each other, and that was enough. But on this particular evening, something happened that would change everything. Maria had just finished her shift when she noticed Mr. Evans, a regular customer, getting up to pay. He was a middle-aged man, sharp-dressed, with an air of confidence that screamed wealth. Maria had served him countless times before, but tonight, he seemed different. As he reached for his wallet, a small photo slipped out and fluttered to the floor. Without thinking, Maria bent down to pick it up. The photo was of a young girl, perhaps around 10 years old, standing next to Mr. Evans. She had a smile that seemed to light up the room. But what caught Maria's attention the most was the scar on the girl's right cheek. It was the same scar Lily had. The same scar Lily had gotten when she was a toddler, after falling from the swings at the park. Maria's heart skipped a beat. She stared at the photo, her mind racing. Could it be? She quickly glanced up at Mr. Evans, who was now pulling out some bills to pay for his meal. He didn't seem to notice her gaze. Maria's hand trembled slightly as she held the photo, trying to calm the swirling thoughts. In her mind, there was no way this could be a coincidence. She had to ask him about it. Slowly, she approached the table and placed the photo down in front of him. "Excuse me, Mr. Evans," she said, her voice a little shaky. "I couldn't help but notice the photo. The girl in it. She has the same scar as my daughter." Mr. Evans paused, looking up from his wallet. His eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Maria thought he might say something dismissive. Instead, he stared at the photo for a long time before speaking. "What is your daughter's name?" he asked, his voice calm, but with an edge of curiosity. "Lily," Maria replied, her heart pounding in her chest. Mr. Evans didn't say anything at first. He simply stared at the photo, his fingers brushing over the girl's face. Maria could see the gears turning in his head, but he remained silent. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, he looked up at her. "That girl," he began, his voice almost a whisper, "is my daughter, Sophie. And that scar, it's from a car accident when she was little. She's been gone for years now." Maria's breath caught in her throat. Sophie, his daughter? Could this really be happening? The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to come together, but Maria had more questions than answers. Sophie Evans had been in an accident years ago, but the scar that was identical to Lily's. It couldn't be just a coincidence. "I'm sorry for your loss," Maria said softly, unsure of what else to say. "But this is so strange. My daughter has the same scar. She's alive." Mr. Evans' eyes softened, but there was a deep sadness there too. "I never thought I'd have to tell anyone about this. But I think you deserve to know," he said quietly. And with that, Maria knew that this encounter was only the beginning of something that would unravel everything she thought she knew about her daughter's past. Maria stood still, staring at Mr. Evans as he spoke. The weight of his words pressed down on her chest. She had asked herself so many times over the years who Lily's father really was, and now, she was facing something she never could have imagined. Sophie, Mr. Evans' daughter, was supposed to be dead. But the same scar that Lily had. She had always thought it was a simple accident when Lily was a child, but now, it felt like something much more. Mr. Evans' words echoed in her mind, but she couldn't find the strength to respond. Instead, she focused on the photo of Sophie, still lying on the table between them. "You said she's been gone for years. What happened?" Maria finally managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Evans' expression darkened as he picked up the photo, running his fingers over it, almost as if seeking comfort. "It was a car accident," he said slowly, his gaze distant. "Sophie was only 7. She was in the back seat when it happened. The car skidded off the road in the rain, and we lost control. The crash. He paused, his throat tightening. I couldn't save her. She was gone before we could get her to the hospital. Maria listened, her mind racing. She had never heard of Sophie, not once, in all the years she had worked at the diner. If Mr. Evans had a daughter, why had she never known? Why hadn't he ever mentioned her before? And most importantly, what did all of this mean for Lily? I'm sorry, Maria whispered, her heart breaking for him. I can't even imagine what you've gone through. But this is so strange. How could Sophie have the same scar as Lily? Mr. Evans looked up at her, his expression full of regret. There's something I've never told anyone, he said softly. I didn't just lose Sophie that day. I lost part of myself too. I tried to move on, to bury the pain, but it was impossible. The guilt, it's always there, eating away at me. But when I saw that scar, Maria, it shook me. I had to tell you the truth. Maria took a step back, still trying to process everything. What truth? She asked, her voice trembling. Maria, I've been keeping secrets, he began, his voice faltering slightly. Sophie, she wasn't the only child I had. Before her, there was another. A daughter I never knew existed. And that child, I believe it's Lily. Maria's heart skipped a beat. She stared at Mr. Evans, unable to speak for a long moment. What do you mean, another child? She finally asked, the words barely leaving her mouth. When I was younger, I had a brief affair. I never knew the woman very well, but we had a child together. I didn't know she was pregnant until much later, and by then, it was too late. The woman, she disappeared. I never heard from her again. I always assumed she had kept the child away from me. But seeing the scar, I don't think it's a coincidence. I believe Lily is that child. Your daughter is my daughter, Maria. Maria could feel her breath catch in her throat. The room seemed to spin around her as the full weight of his words sank in. Her mind raced, and she struggled to stay focused. Could this be true? Could Lily really be Mr. Evans' daughter? She had always wondered who her real father was, but she never imagined that the answer would come like this, in the most unexpected way. You're saying that Lily is yours? Maria whispered. Mr. Evans nodded, his eyes full of sorrow. I don't know how to explain it. I've never been able to find her, but I know this is no coincidence. The scar, the resemblance, it's all too much to ignore. Maria, I've spent years searching for answers. I'm begging you. Please, tell me the truth. Could she be mine? Maria felt her chest tighten as she stood there, frozen in place. The emotions swirling inside her were overwhelming. She had always known that Lily's father was out there somewhere, but never had she imagined it would be someone like Mr. Evans. Lily has a scar. The same one, Maria said softly, her voice trembling. She got it when she was little, after a fall at the park. I never knew where it came from, but I always believed it was just an accident. Maria, this isn't just an accident. There's a reason for the scar. And I believe it's because Lily and Sophie are connected in some way. I don't know how, but I need to find out the truth. I need to know if Lily is really my daughter. Maria's mind was spinning as she looked at the photo again. There were so many questions, so many answers she didn't have. But one thing was certain. Everything in her life had just changed. Maria took a deep breath and looked up at Mr. Evans. I don't know what to believe anymore, but I need to find out. I need to know the truth, too. I'll help you, Mr. Evans. I'll do whatever it takes to figure this out. The room was heavy with silence as both of them stood there, caught in the weight of a secret that was finally coming to light. And as Maria left the diner that night, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Maria stood in her small apartment, staring at Lily, who was sitting on the couch, drawing in her notebook. The air was thick with tension, the weight of everything she had learned in the past few days pressing down on her. Her mind raced as she tried to piece together the truth. Mr. Evans' revelation had left her shaken, but now, more than ever, she had to know the truth about Lily's past. Maria had always been a devoted mother, working long hours to provide for her daughter. She had given Lily everything she could, but there was always a part of her that had felt like something was missing. She had raised Lily alone, without a father, without knowing where Lily truly came from. And now, after all these years, Maria was beginning to wonder if Lily's father was someone she had never expected, someone who might be the very man who had come into her life unexpectedly just a few days ago. Maria paced back and forth in her living room, her thoughts a whirlwind. She could see Lily's face in her mind, the bright, innocent eyes, the gentle smile. The scar on her cheek, so small yet so significant. Could it really be that Lily was Mr. Evans' daughter? The more Maria thought about it, the more confused she became. The resemblance between Lily and Sophie, Mr. Evans' deceased daughter, was undeniable. But how could this be possible? Maria had no answers, only questions, and she needed to find them. The phone rang, snapping Maria out of her thoughts. She glanced at the caller ID and saw it was Mr. Evans. Her heart skipped a beat. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hello, Mr. Evans," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Maria," he said, his voice soft but urgent. "I need to see you again. We need to talk. I've been doing some thinking, and I have a plan. I think it's time we got to the bottom of this. We need to find out if Lily is really mine." Maria felt her stomach tighten. She didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted to say yes, to go see him and find out the truth once and for all. But another part of her was scared. What if the truth was too much to handle? What if Lily really was his daughter? What would that mean for their lives? She took a deep breath and steadied herself. "I'm not sure, Mr. Evans," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I'll think about it." "I understand," he replied. "Take your time. But I want you to know that I'm serious about this. I need to know the truth. And I want to be there for Lily if she really is my daughter." Maria's heart skipped a beat. She wanted to believe him, but could she? Could she trust this man who had suddenly appeared in her life and claimed a connection to her daughter? "Okay," Maria said finally. "Let's meet tomorrow. I'll bring Lily." She hung up the phone, feeling a mix of relief and fear. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew she had to take this step. It was the only way to find out what had been hidden for so long. The next day, Maria found herself standing outside Mr. Evans' office building, her heart pounding in her chest. She glanced down at Lily, who was holding her hand, her eyes wide with curiosity. Maria smiled at her daughter, though the smile didn't reach her eyes. She was scared. She was scared of what this meeting could mean for them. As they entered the building, Maria felt out of place. The sleek, modern architecture, the expensive furniture, it all seemed so foreign to her. She had always worked in places like diners and coffee shops, not high-rise office buildings. Mr. Evans greeted them in the lobby, his face tense but kind. "Maria, Lily," he said, his voice low. "Thank you for coming." Maria nodded, but she couldn't find the words. She looked down at Lily, who was clutching her hand tightly, sensing the tension in the air. "Are you ready to find out the truth?" Mr. Evans asked gently. Maria took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes," she said, though she wasn't sure if she believed it. They followed Mr. Evans into his office, where he had a small table set up with papers and a few chairs. He motioned for Maria and Lily to sit down. "I've arranged for a DNA test," Mr. Evans said, his voice steady. "I want us to know once and for all. I want to know if Lily is really my daughter." Maria felt her heart race. A DNA test. She had never imagined this moment would come, and now it was here. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice tight. "Yes," he replied. "I've already contacted the lab. We'll have the results within a week." Maria nodded, though her mind was still spinning. A week. She couldn't wait that long. The uncertainty was unbearable. She looked at Lily, who was sitting quietly beside her, her innocent eyes wide with confusion. "What does this mean for us, Mr. Evans?" Maria asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "If Lily is really your daughter, what happens then?" Mr. Evans hesitated, his gaze softening. "I don't know," he said quietly, "but I want to be there for her. I want to be part of her life, if she'll have me. I know I can't undo the past, but I want to make things right." Maria felt a lump in her throat. She didn't know if she could accept him into their lives. It seemed too much to ask, too much to process. But deep down, she knew one thing for sure. Everything was about to change. And she didn't know if she was ready for it. Maria sat in the sterile, quiet office of Mr. Evans, staring at the small envelope on the desk. The DNA results were finally in, but the anxiety in her chest was overwhelming. She had spent the past week trying to prepare herself for whatever the results might be, but now that the moment had arrived, she felt anything but ready. She glanced at Lily, who was sitting on the edge of her chair, coloring in her notebook. Her innocent face seemed unaware of the storm of emotions swirling around her. Maria swallowed hard, trying to steady her breathing. "Maria," Mr. Evans said, his voice soft but steady, "are you ready?" Maria nodded slowly, her mind racing. The idea that Lily could be Mr. Evans' daughter had been too impossible to consider. She had raised Lily on her own, never knowing who her father was, but now, after everything that had happened, she wasn't sure what to believe anymore. She had already gone so far, meeting Mr. Evans, listening to his story, and agreeing to the DNA test. But what if the truth shattered everything? What if Lily was his daughter? What would that mean for their life together? Maria reached out and picked up the envelope, tearing it open with trembling hands. She pulled out the paper inside, her eyes scanning the results quickly. She tried to keep calm, but her heart was racing. Mr. Evans leaned forward, watching her with a mixture of hope and concern. "What does it say?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Maria felt a lump in her throat as she read the words again. She had been hoping for clarity, but instead, all she could feel was a rush of emotions. She looked up at Mr. Evans, trying to steady her voice. "The test says, it says that Lily is your daughter," Maria whispered, her voice breaking. The words hung in the air between them, as though time itself had stopped. Mr. Evans froze, staring at Maria in disbelief. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Lily looked up from her drawing, sensing the tension in the room. "What's going on, Mom?" she asked innocently, her eyes wide with curiosity. Maria forced a smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Nothing, honey. Just some big news." She turned to Mr. Evans, her heart heavy. "So, what happens now?" she asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. Mr. Evans took a deep breath, his hands gripping the edge of the desk. "I don't know," he said slowly, his voice full of emotion. "I need time to process this. I never expected this. I never knew." He looked at Lily, his eyes softening. "But I want to be a part of her life, Maria. I want to make up for lost time. I know I can't erase the past, but I want to be there for her, if she'll have me." Maria felt a wave of confusion wash over her. She had spent years raising Lily on her own, and now, with one test, everything had changed. She didn't know if she was ready to open her heart to Mr. Evans, or to let him into Lily's life. She had always been enough for Lily, and now there was this stranger claiming to be her father. What would it mean for them? "But we've been fine, Mr. Evans," Maria said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I've done everything for her. I don't know what this changes." Mr. Evans stood up, his face earnest. "I understand," he said gently, "and I'm not here to take anything away from you. I know you've been everything to Lily. I just want a chance. I want to be a father to her." Maria looked at him, her eyes searching his face for any sign of deceit, but all she saw was sincerity. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps this man really did want to be part of Lily's life. "I don't know," Maria said softly. "This is a lot to take in. We've had a life without you, and I don't know how that fits with what you want." Mr. Evans looked at her, his gaze steady. "I don't want to force anything, Maria. I just want to be there for her, and for you, if you'll let me." He paused, then added, "I'll give you time. But please, Maria, don't shut me out. I want to make things right." Maria closed her eyes, her heart heavy with the weight of the decision she had to make. She had spent so many years protecting Lily from the unknown, keeping her safe from a past that didn't belong to them. But now, that past had come knocking, and it was impossible to ignore. She looked at Lily, who was still sitting quietly, her innocent eyes flicking between Maria and Mr. Evans. "Lily deserves to know the truth," Maria whispered to herself, more than anyone else in the room. She turned back to Mr. Evans. "I don't know what happens now," she said slowly, "but I'll think about it. We'll take it one step at a time." Mr. Evans nodded, his face filled with understanding. "Thank you, Maria," he said quietly. "That's all I ask. We'll take it slow. No pressure. I just want to be part of her life, in whatever way you'll allow." Maria didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain: everything had changed. Lily's father had come back into their lives, and now it was up to Maria to figure out what that meant for them. She knew one thing, though: she had to protect Lily, no matter what. And no matter how complicated the truth might be, she would do whatever it took to keep her daughter safe and loved. Maria spent the next few days in a state of turmoil, her mind never at rest. Every time she looked at Lily, the weight of the truth hung over her like a heavy cloud. She could still feel Mr. Evans' gaze when he spoke about wanting to be part of Lily's life. She had never imagined her life would take such a turn. She had always been enough for Lily. She had done everything on her own, and now, suddenly, there was this man who claimed to be Lily's father. The truth felt like a double-edged sword, and Maria wasn't sure she was ready to face it. Her thoughts were interrupted when Lily entered the kitchen, holding a drawing in her hand. "Look, Mommy, I drew a picture of us," she said, her face lighting up with excitement. Maria smiled at her daughter, though the smile didn't reach her eyes. She took the picture from Lily's hand and examined it. It was a simple drawing, but it made Maria's heart ache. There she was, smiling with Lily, a mother and daughter, together, in a world where nothing could come between them. But now, things were different. The world they had known was changing. Maria could feel it in the air. She tried to push the thought aside, but it lingered, just beneath the surface. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Maria said softly, tucking the drawing into the refrigerator door. "You're so talented." Lily grinned. "I want to be an artist when I grow up." Maria chuckled lightly, though the sound was hollow. "Maybe you will be, darling. You can be anything you want." But deep down, Maria wasn't sure if she could even begin to understand what it all meant anymore. The world had always been simple, just the two of them against everything. But now there was this new world waiting to force its way into their lives. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Maria sat alone in the living room, her thoughts swirling. She knew she couldn't keep avoiding Mr. Evans forever. The truth had already been revealed, and now it was time to decide what came next. But how could she make such a decision? Could she really let Mr. Evans into their lives? Could she trust him after all these years? Would Lily even want him in her life? These questions weighed heavily on her as she stared at the phone in her hands. She had ignored Mr. Evans' calls for the past few days, unsure of what to say. But now, as the silence stretched on, Maria realized that she couldn't avoid it any longer. She had to make a decision. Slowly, she picked up the phone and dialed his number. The phone rang a few times before Mr. Evans picked up. "Maria," he said, his voice tense with anticipation. "Mr. Evans," Maria replied, her voice steady but soft. "I've been thinking about what you said. I'm ready to talk." There was a pause on the other end of the line, and Maria could almost hear his breath catch. "I can meet you tomorrow," Mr. Evans said after a moment. "I'd like to talk in person. I think we need to discuss how to move forward." Maria agreed, and they made plans to meet the next day at the diner. The thought of seeing him again made Maria's stomach churn, but she knew it was the only way to face the truth. The next day, as Maria walked into the diner, she saw Mr. Evans sitting at the corner booth, his posture rigid as he watched her approach. His face softened when he saw her, but Maria couldn't shake the feeling that everything was different now. He stood up as she reached the table, and they exchanged an awkward, tentative handshake. Maria sat down across from him, her hands resting in her lap as she waited for him to speak. "I know this is hard, Maria," Mr. Evans began, his voice low and sincere. "I don't expect you to make any decisions right now, but I need you to know that I'm committed to being there for Lily. I want to be part of her life. I want to be the father I should have been all along." Maria looked at him, her heart aching with the weight of his words. She had never considered this possibility, never imagined that the man who had been nothing more than a stranger to her could suddenly be so important to Lily. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," Maria admitted, her voice thick with emotion. "It's been just the two of us for so long. I've done everything for her, and now you're asking me to let you into our lives." Mr. Evans leaned forward slightly, his eyes pleading with her. "I understand, Maria. I do. But I'm not asking you to let me in just for the sake of it. I want to be a real father to Lily. I want to give her what she deserves." Maria could feel her resolve beginning to crack. She had always been so protective of Lily, guarding her against the unknown, against the past that she had never fully understood. But now, that past was here, and Maria couldn't push it away any longer. "I don't know if I can trust you," Maria said, her voice barely above a whisper. "How do I know that this isn't just something you're doing because you feel guilty? What if it's just about you and not about her?" Mr. Evans looked down at his hands for a moment before meeting her gaze. "It's not about me, Maria," he said softly. "It's about Lily. I've spent years regretting the decisions I made, but I want to make things right. I want to be the father she deserves. And if you'll let me, I want to be part of your life too." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Maria sat back in her seat, her mind racing as she considered everything that had been said. She had never wanted this. She had never wanted to share her life with someone who might not be there for the long haul. But now, faced with the reality of Lily's father, Maria didn't know what the right choice was. She could feel the wall she had built around her heart beginning to crumble, and she knew that no matter what, things would never be the same. I don't know, Maria said finally, her voice trembling. I need time. I need time to figure out what this means for us. Mr. Evans nodded, understanding. I'll give you all the time you need, Maria. I'm not going anywhere. The two of them sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. Maria knew that this was just the beginning of something far more complicated, but for the first time in days, she felt like she might have made the right choice. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew that she had to take it one step at a time. Maria spent the next few days lost in thought, her mind constantly returning to the conversation with Mr. Evans. Every time she saw Lily's bright smile or heard her innocent questions, the weight of the decision she had to make pressed harder on her chest. Lily had already lived so much of her life without a father, and now, the possibility of someone new entering their world felt both overwhelming and unsettling. Maria knew that she couldn't keep avoiding the inevitable. She had to decide what was best for Lily, but more than that, she needed to figure out what was best for them both. The idea of allowing Mr. Evans into their lives was daunting, but the possibility of Lily having a father who wanted to be there for her was something Maria couldn't ignore. It was late one evening when Maria finally sat down and called Mr. Evans. Her heart raced as she dialed his number, the anxiety from earlier returning. The phone rang a few times before he answered. Maria? His voice was soft, almost as if he had been waiting for her call. Mr. Evans, Maria said, her voice steady but uncertain. I've been thinking a lot about what you said. I think I'm ready to take the next step, but I need to know how this is going to work. I don't want to rush into anything. I don't want Lily to get hurt. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line before he spoke again. I understand, he said, his tone calm but firm. I don't want to rush you, Maria. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work, but I think we need to start with baby steps. We don't need to make any major decisions right now. We can take our time and figure this out together. Maria nodded, even though he couldn't see her. She was relieved by his words. I think that's the best way, she said softly. We'll take it slow, and I'll talk to Lily about it. She deserves to know the truth, and she deserves to feel comfortable with whatever comes next. Mr. Evans paused before speaking again. I appreciate that, Maria, and I promise you, I'll be patient. I just want to be part of her life. I know it's a big adjustment, but I want to prove to you that I'm here for both of you, no matter what. Maria hung up the phone, feeling a strange mixture of relief and uncertainty. She wasn't sure where this journey would take her, but for the first time in days, she felt like she had taken control. She wasn't just reacting anymore. She was choosing the path forward. The next morning, Maria sat down with Lily at the kitchen table, her heart pounding as she prepared to tell her the truth. Lily was excited to share the drawing she had made the night before, her enthusiasm almost making Maria forget the gravity of the conversation ahead. Mom, look, I drew a picture of me and you in the park. See, we're holding hands and everything, Lily said, holding up her picture with a proud grin. Maria smiled at the drawing, feeling her heart swell with love for her daughter. But as she looked at Lily, the weight of her words came crashing back. Lily, honey, I need to talk to you about something important, Maria said, her voice soft but serious. Lily tilted her head, sensing the change in her mother's tone. What's wrong, Mom? She asked, her voice filled with concern. Maria took a deep breath. This wasn't going to be easy. I know we've never talked about your dad before, she began, but I think it's time you knew the truth. Lily's eyes widened, her small face filled with confusion. My dad, she repeated. You mean? I have a dad. Maria nodded slowly. Yes, sweetheart. You have a dad, but he hasn't been a part of our lives until now. Lily looked at her, trying to process the words. Why hasn't he been here, Mom? Why didn't you tell me about him? Maria hesitated, trying to find the right words. It's complicated, Lily, but I've met him now, and we're going to take some time to figure out what that means for us. Lily blinked, clearly overwhelmed by the information. So, I get to meet him? She asked, her voice filled with hope. Maria nodded again, though the uncertainty still lingered in her heart. Yes, you'll meet him, but we'll go slowly, okay? We'll take our time, and we'll figure out what's best for you. Lily's face lit up with excitement, but Maria couldn't help but notice the flicker of worry in her eyes. Do you want to meet him, sweetheart? Maria asked gently. Lily bit her lip, clearly unsure. I don't know, Mom, she said, her voice small. What if he doesn't like me? What if he doesn't want to be my dad? Maria reached out and took Lily's hand, squeezing it gently. I don't know what's going to happen, honey, she said softly. But I do know that no matter what, I will always be here for you. And if you ever feel uncomfortable or scared, you can always talk to me. We'll face it together, okay? Lily nodded slowly, her eyes wide with uncertainty. Okay, Mom. But what if he doesn't like me? Maria smiled warmly, her heart breaking for her daughter. Sweetheart, he's your father. He might not know what to expect, but I know that he'll want to get to know you. And I'll be there every step of the way. Lily nodded, though she still looked uncertain. Maria could see the conflict in her eyes, the uncertainty of what this new chapter in their lives would mean. She wasn't sure if this was the right decision, but she knew one thing for certain. It was time for Lily to know the truth. And no matter what came next, Maria would be there to protect her every step of the way. Together, they would face whatever the future held. The following days passed slowly for Maria. Every moment felt like a weight on her chest, the anticipation of what was to come keeping her on edge. She spent hours thinking about how to approach Lily's meeting with Mr. Evans. She knew that this could change everything, but she still wasn't sure how to make it work. The past few weeks had brought out so many emotions in her, emotions she had buried for years. She had always been able to protect Lily, but now, it felt like she was losing control of that protection. Maria knew that Lily was excited, but at the same time, there was an undercurrent of fear in her. She could see it in her daughter's eyes, the uncertainty, the questions that Maria couldn't answer. Maria could only imagine how confusing this must be for her. Lily had always asked about her father, but now that the possibility of meeting him was real, Maria wasn't sure what to expect. The morning of the meeting arrived. Maria woke up early, her heart pounding as she prepared for the day ahead. She found Lily in the kitchen, already sitting at the table with a bowl of cereal, her little legs dangling from the chair. She was too quiet, and Maria could tell that her daughter was anxious, trying to understand the situation, even though she was too young to fully comprehend it. How do you feel, sweetheart? Maria asked as she prepared her own coffee. Lily shrugged, poking her spoon into the cereal. I'm okay, she said softly, though the hesitation in her voice told Maria that she wasn't. Maria sat down next to her, taking a deep breath. You know, meeting Mr. Evans is a big thing. You don't have to feel rushed, okay? We can take our time. Lily nodded, her eyes still downcast, but she didn't say anything. Maria knew that her daughter was struggling with this, but she didn't want to push her. She had to let Lily process things at her own pace. The day moved by in a blur. They arrived at Mr. Evans' office around noon, and Maria could feel the tension between them as they walked in. Mr. Evans was already waiting in the lobby, his face a mix of hope and nervousness. When he saw them, he stood up, his eyes immediately drawn to Lily. He smiled, but it was tentative, unsure. Maria, Lily, he said, his voice soft. Thank you for coming. Maria forced a smile, feeling her nerves tighten. She wanted this to go smoothly, for Lily's sake, but she wasn't sure how to navigate this moment. She wasn't sure if Lily was ready to meet this man who claimed to be her father. Hello, Mr. Evans, Maria said. She looked at Lily, who was clutching her mother's hand tightly, her small fingers digging into Maria's palm. Mr. Evans knelt down to Lily's level, trying to make himself seem less intimidating. Hi, Lily, he said gently, his voice full of warmth. I'm Mr. Evans. I know this might feel a little strange, but I'm really happy to finally meet you. Lily looked at him, then quickly glanced up at Maria, as if seeking reassurance. Maria nodded, giving her daughter the comfort she needed. It's okay, sweetie. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, Maria said, her voice soothing. But Lily surprised her. Slowly, cautiously, she took a step forward, still holding on to Maria's hand, and looked at Mr. Evans. You look like the picture, she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. Maria's heart skipped a beat. She had no idea how Lily could have known that, but the comment was enough to break the tension in the room. Mr. Evans smiled, a deep sadness crossing his face. I guess I do, he said softly. You're very observant, Lily. For the first time since they walked in, Maria felt a shift. Mr. Evans wasn't some stranger trying to take over their lives. He wasn't trying to be forceful. He was just a man who had spent years regretting his absence, and now, he wanted to make things right. He wasn't looking for anything other than a chance. Maria could see that now. The meeting continued, with Mr. Evans and Lily exchanging quiet words, Lily slowly warming up to the idea of him being in her life. It was clear that they were both still processing the situation, but for the first time, Maria felt hopeful. Maybe this wouldn't be as hard as she thought. Maybe, in time, they could make it work. But she wasn't ready to rush into anything. The conversation eventually turned to casual topics, like Lily's favorite activities and Mr. Evans' work, trying to bridge the gap between strangers. Maria watched them interact, a small part of her relieved that Lily was feeling comfortable. She couldn't deny that there was something about Mr. Evans' sincerity that made her feel like this could actually work. She had been so scared to let him in. But now, as she saw the connection between him and Lily, something inside her softened. They weren't a family yet, but perhaps, in time, they could be. As they left the office, Maria felt a new weight lift off her shoulders. She still wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew that they had taken a step forward. She glanced down at Lily, who was walking beside her, still holding her hand. "How do you feel, honey?" Maria asked. Lily smiled up at her. "I think I like him, Mom." Maria's heart melted, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace. Maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. It wouldn't be easy, but with patience, trust, and love, they could build something new, together. Weeks passed since the meeting, and Maria found herself caught between hope and hesitation. She had kept her promise to Mr. Evans, allowing him to spend time with Lily, though always under the careful watch of Maria. They had met several more times, each time feeling more natural, but Maria couldn't fully shake the uncertainty that lingered in her heart. It was easy to see how much Mr. Evans wanted to be a part of Lily's life, but there was a part of Maria that still held back. She had raised Lily on her own, built a life around just the two of them, and now, with each passing day, she was forced to share that life with someone else. It wasn't easy, but what made it harder was the fact that Lily was beginning to warm up to Mr. Evans. Maria noticed it in the little things, the way Lily looked forward to seeing him, the way she mentioned him with excitement rather than hesitation. It was clear that Lily was adjusting, but Maria knew that this wasn't something she could rush. One evening, as Maria was cleaning up after dinner, Lily came running into the kitchen, a piece of paper clutched in her hand. "Mom, look," she said excitedly. "I made this for you and Mr. Evans. I want to show him next time we see him." Maria turned around to look at her daughter, who was holding up a drawing. The picture showed a family of 3, with Lily in the middle, smiling brightly, with her mom and Mr. Evans beside her. Maria's heart ached as she looked at the drawing. It was innocent and pure, a sign that Lily was accepting the new reality that was slowly taking shape. But Maria couldn't ignore the doubts still swirling in her mind. She wanted to be happy for Lily, wanted to feel that same excitement, but the fear of losing her own place in Lily's life was hard to shake. Maria smiled at Lily as she set the drawing down on the counter. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I think Mr. Evans will really like it." Lily beamed at the compliment, clearly proud of her creation. But Maria couldn't help the lingering thought that she was somehow losing control, losing the small family they had been for so long. The next day, Maria found herself sitting in the diner again, waiting for Mr. Evans. He had asked to meet for coffee, and though Maria had been reluctant at first, she agreed. She couldn't keep avoiding the inevitable. She needed to talk to him, to lay down her feelings and figure out where they went from here. Mr. Evans walked in shortly after Maria had arrived, his presence still as commanding as ever. But today, there was a soft edge to his demeanor, something that made him seem less like the business tycoon and more like the man trying to be a father. He smiled when he saw her and walked over to the table. "Maria," he said, his voice gentle, "thank you for meeting me. I know things have been a bit complicated, but I want to talk about where we go from here." Maria nodded, feeling the weight of his words. She had been thinking about this moment, rehearsing what she would say, but now that it was here, she wasn't sure how to start. "I don't know what's going to happen, Mr. Evans," she said, her voice quieter than she intended. "I see how much you want to be a part of Lily's life, but I'm just not sure how to handle it. I've been her everything for so long, and now, you're asking me to share that. It's hard for me." Mr. Evans nodded, his expression understanding. "I know, Maria, and I don't expect you to just accept this overnight. I don't want to force anything. I just want to be in Lily's life in whatever way I can. I don't want to take your place. I just want to be a part of her life. I want her to know who I am, and I want to build a relationship with her. Slowly, when she's ready. Maria looked down at her coffee, struggling to find the right words. She had seen how patient Mr. Evans was with Lily, how he didn't rush things, how he gave her space to make her own decisions. That patience was something she admired, but at the same time, it made her feel even more conflicted. Could she really let go of the life she had built for herself and Lily, even just a little? Could she trust Mr. Evans enough to let him in? I know you're trying to do the right thing, Maria said, looking up at him. But this is hard for me. It's not just about you and Lily. It's about me too. I don't know how to let go, even just a little. It feels like I'm losing my place in her life. Mr. Evans leaned forward slightly, his eyes soft with empathy. I understand, Maria. I never want you to feel like you're losing your place. You'll always be her mom. Nothing can change that. I'm not trying to replace you. I'm just trying to give her something that she deserves, a chance to know her father. Maria felt a lump form in her throat. She had never expected this kind of vulnerability from Mr. Evans. He wasn't the cold businessman she had initially thought him to be. He was a man who had lost so much and was trying to make amends. I just don't know if I can share her, Maria whispered. Mr. Evans reached across the table, his hand resting lightly on hers. I don't want to take her from you, Maria. I just want to be there. I'm willing to take it slow, to wait until she's ready, and even more so, I'll wait for you. I don't want to rush you. You're the most important person in her life, and I won't take that away from you. Maria squeezed his hand, feeling a sense of relief. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. She didn't know where this path would lead, but for the first time, she felt like it might be worth exploring. Okay, Maria said softly, we'll take it slow. I'll let her meet you when she's ready. Mr. Evans smiled, a mixture of relief and gratitude crossing his face. Thank you, Maria. That means the world to me. As Maria left the diner that day, she felt a little lighter, though the road ahead still felt uncertain. But for the first time in a long while, she felt like they were moving in the right direction. Days turned into weeks, and Maria found herself slowly adjusting to this new dynamic in their lives. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when doubt crept in, but she could see the change in Lily. Her daughter had started asking more questions about Mr. Evans, and though Maria could sense her own unease, she couldn't deny that Lily seemed to be thriving. The bond between them was slowly forming, and with each passing day, it felt more like a real relationship. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Maria had decided to take Mr. Evans at his word, that he wanted to be there for Lily, not to replace her, but to be a father she never had. That meant taking it slow, not rushing things. But Maria couldn't shake the fear that she might be giving away too much of herself, too much of her space in Lily's life. It was the fear of being replaced, of no longer being enough. Maria had always been Lily's rock. She had raised her alone, worked hard to provide for her, and in many ways, had sacrificed her own dreams to ensure Lily had everything she needed. Now, here was this man, this stranger in her life, trying to take a place that had always been hers. But as she watched Lily and Mr. Evans together, Maria couldn't ignore the connection they were forming. It was undeniable. Lily was beginning to feel comfortable around him, asking questions, laughing at his jokes, and even drawing pictures of them together. And in those moments, Maria couldn't help but wonder if this could really work. Could they truly become a family? Maria wasn't sure, but she knew she couldn't keep holding Lily back forever. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon when the phone rang. Maria glanced at the screen and saw it was Mr. Evans. She had come to expect his calls, but this one felt different. She hesitated before answering, unsure of what to expect. Hello, Maria said, her voice cautious. Maria, Mr. Evans said, his voice warm, I've been thinking. I want to take you and Lily out tomorrow. A small family outing, if you're okay with that. Just the three of us. Maria's heart skipped a beat. A family outing. It felt too soon, but she also knew this was a crucial step for them. Lily was ready, and Maria had to be too. She had promised herself she wouldn't let fear hold her back. She had to let Lily decide what kind of relationship she wanted with Mr. Evans, and she had to trust him to do right by her. I think that sounds nice, Maria replied, her voice soft but steady. I'll talk to Lily about it. The next morning, Maria sat down with Lily at breakfast, feeling the weight of the moment. She could see the excitement in her daughter's eyes as she spoke. "Mom, is Mr. Evans really taking us to the park today?" Lily asked, practically bouncing in her seat. Maria smiled gently, her heart softening at the sight of her daughter's enthusiasm. "Yes, sweetie. Mr. Evans wants to spend some time with us, just the three of us. How do you feel about that?" Lily's eyes lit up, her smile wide and full of hope. "I think it will be fun. I've always wanted to go to the park with you and someone else. It'll be like a family." Maria's stomach tightened, but she nodded. She knew this was what Lily needed. She couldn't hold on to the past forever. As much as she feared it, she had to let go. "Okay," Maria said, her voice steady. "Let's go have fun today." They arrived at the park an hour later. The sun was high, and the air was warm, a perfect day for an outing. Mr. Evans was waiting for them at the entrance, a big smile on his face as he waved. Maria felt the familiar tension in her chest, but she took a deep breath and reminded herself that she was doing this for Lily. The three of them spent the day together, walking through the park, laughing, sharing stories, and even sitting down for a picnic. At first, Maria was on edge, unsure of how to navigate this new dynamic. But as the hours passed, she found herself relaxing. Mr. Evans wasn't trying to take over. He was simply being a father. He wasn't rushing things. He was allowing Lily to open up at her own pace, to feel comfortable in his presence. And slowly, Maria began to feel the shift too. It wasn't about replacing her, or trying to erase the past. It was about making room for something new, a future where all three of them could be part of one another's lives. As the day came to an end, they walked back to the car. Lily was holding Mr. Evans' hand, a look of happiness on her face. Maria couldn't help but smile, though it was tinged with sadness. This was their new reality. It was bittersweet. "Thank you for today," Maria said, her voice soft as they reached the car. Mr. Evans turned to her, his expression sincere. "Thank you for giving us a chance," he said. "I know it's not easy, but I want to be here for both of you, however I can." Maria nodded, her heart full of conflicting emotions. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time, she felt like she was ready to face it. With Mr. Evans and Lily, they could figure this out together, step by step. The car ride home was quiet, but not uncomfortable. Lily fell asleep in the back seat, her small head resting against the window. Maria glanced at her daughter through the rearview mirror, her heart swelling with love. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. Lily had a chance at something she hadn't had before, a father who wanted to be there. And that was enough for now. The following weeks passed with a quiet sense of change. Maria found herself adjusting to a new rhythm, one where Mr. Evans was slowly becoming a more prominent figure in their lives. At first, she had worried about losing her place in Lily's world, but as time went on, she realized it wasn't about losing her position as a mother. It was about giving Lily the opportunity to know a part of her life she had never known, her father. It wasn't easy, but it was becoming clearer that this was a step forward for both of them. The fear that once gripped Maria's heart was slowly being replaced by a tentative sense of peace. She had started to trust Mr. Evans more, and she could see how much he genuinely cared for Lily. He wasn't just trying to be a father in name. He was trying to build a relationship with her. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Lily, for her part, had become more comfortable with the idea of having Mr. Evans in her life. She spoke about him more often, asking questions about his work, about his past, and slowly opening up about her own thoughts and feelings. Maria could see the wall she had built around Lily beginning to come down, little by little. It was still difficult for Maria to watch the bond between them grow, but she knew that it was necessary. Lily deserved to have a father in her life, even if that meant sharing her with someone else. One Saturday afternoon, Mr. Evans invited them to his house for a small gathering. It wasn't much, just a casual afternoon barbecue with a few friends, but it was a step forward, a way for them to start creating new memories together. Maria was nervous about the idea. His house was beautiful, filled with luxury and comfort, everything Maria had never had in her own life. It made her feel small, insignificant. But for Lily, this was a chance to experience a new side of life. And for that, Maria would go, no matter how uncomfortable it made her feel. As they drove to Mr. Evans' house, Maria could see the excitement in Lily's eyes. She was eager to see Mr. Evans' home, to meet more of his friends, to continue building the connection she had started. Maria couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. She had always been Lily's everything. They had done everything together, from the simplest chores to the most important milestones in her life. And now, here she was, taking a step back, letting someone else into the most sacred space in her heart. But as they arrived at the house, Maria couldn't help but notice how happy Lily was. She was excited, comfortable, and completely at ease with Mr. Evans and his friends. It was a stark contrast to how Maria felt, like a fish out of water, unsure of how to fit in. But she didn't want to let her insecurities show. She had promised herself that she would make this work for Lily. They were both standing at the door when Mr. Evans opened it, smiling broadly. "Maria, Lily," he greeted them warmly. "Welcome. I'm so glad you could make it." Maria smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Thank you for having us," she said softly. Mr. Evans stepped aside to let them in, and as they walked into the house, Maria couldn't help but marvel at how well kept everything was. The decor was sleek, modern, and extravagant, everything a far cry from the simple life she had always known. She tried not to let her discomfort show, but she couldn't help but feel like she didn't belong here. Lily, however, seemed to be in her element. She wandered around, looking at the various rooms, her eyes wide with wonder. Mr. Evans followed her, answering her questions with a warmth that made Maria's heart ache. "This is where we'll have lunch," Mr. Evans said, leading them to a large patio at the back of the house. The grill was already fired up, and the aroma of cooking food filled the air. "I thought you might like to meet a few of my friends." Lily's excitement was palpable. "Wow, it's so big here," she exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. Maria smiled at her daughter's enthusiasm, though she still felt a bit like an outsider. As they sat down for lunch, Maria found herself engaging in small talk with Mr. Evans' friends, trying to mask her discomfort. She noticed that they were all so different from the people she had grown up with. They were rich, polished, and comfortable in their world, whereas Maria had spent her entire life in a completely different space. Still, she did her best to make it work for Lily. She wasn't here for herself, after all. She was here for Lily. As the afternoon wore on, Maria began to notice something. It wasn't just the grand house or the impressive friends that made the day feel different. It was the way Mr. Evans interacted with Lily. She saw him smile at her, laugh with her, and listen intently to her stories. He wasn't just being a father out of obligation. He was genuinely interested in Lily's life, and Lily was responding to it. She laughed with him, asked him questions, and even started telling him stories about her own experiences. It was like watching a door open in her heart that had been closed for years. At the end of the day, as they drove home, Maria couldn't help but feel a shift inside her. It wasn't an immediate feeling of comfort or total acceptance, but something had changed. Lily was happy, and for the first time in a long while, Maria felt like she might be able to let go of the fear that had held her back. As they pulled into the driveway, Lily turned to Maria with a huge smile. "Mom, I really like him," she said, her voice full of excitement. Maria smiled softly, her heart swelling with emotion. "I'm glad, sweetheart. I'm glad you do." Maria didn't know what the future held. She didn't know if she would ever fully accept Mr. Evans into their lives, or if the bond between them would continue to grow. But for the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope. She wasn't sure where this road would take them, but she knew that they would face it together. And that, she realized, was all that mattered. The weeks continued to pass, and Maria found herself caught between the slow-building connection between Lily and Mr. Evans and her own ever-present doubts. She saw the way Lily's eyes lit up when Mr. Evans spoke to her, the way she eagerly awaited his visits, and Maria couldn't deny that the bond between them was deepening. Yet, as much as she tried to embrace this new chapter, there was still a sense of hesitation. Maria had spent so many years as Lily's sole parent, shaping every part of her daughter's world. Now, she was sharing that responsibility, and while it made her heart swell with pride to see Lily so happy, it also made her feel vulnerable. Was she losing her place in her daughter's life? Was there still space for her, or was she being replaced by someone who hadn't been there before? These questions plagued Maria's mind, though she tried not to let them show. One afternoon, she was sitting at the kitchen table when Lily came in with a beaming smile, holding a piece of paper in her hands. "Look, Mom, I drew a picture of me and Mr. Evans," Lily said excitedly, handing over the drawing. Maria took the picture, her heart swelling as she looked at the scene. It was a simple sketch, but it showed Lily and Mr. Evans standing side by side, their arms around each other, with smiles that lit up their faces. It was a portrait of something that felt real. It made Maria's throat tighten. She wanted to be happy for Lily, but a part of her still felt like an outsider. She smiled at her daughter, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to fall. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Maria said softly. "I'm so proud of you. I'm going to show him next time we see him," Lily said, her voice full of excitement. Maria nodded, her heart aching. She didn't want to feel like this. She wanted to be excited for Lily, to share in the joy of having a father figure in her life. But the truth was, she wasn't sure if she was ready to fully accept Mr. Evans, or if she ever would. The phone rang, snapping Maria out of her thoughts. She glanced at the caller ID, and when she saw it was Mr. Evans, she hesitated. He had been calling regularly to check in, to make plans to see Lily, but Maria was still struggling with how much of her space to allow him. She picked up the phone, her pulse quickening slightly. "Hello, Mr. Evans," she said, her voice calm but guarded. "Hi, Maria," Mr. Evans replied, his tone warm but with an underlying concern. "I was wondering if we could talk about something. I know we've been taking things slow, but I've been thinking. I'd like to take you and Lily out for a day, just the three of us. A family outing, you know? A chance to spend some real time together outside of the usual routines." Maria felt a flutter of anxiety. A family outing. It sounded simple, but in her heart, it felt like a leap. She wasn't sure if she was ready for that, but she didn't want to say no either. She had promised herself she would take this one step at a time, for Lily. I think that could be nice," Maria said, her voice betraying the uncertainty she felt. "But I need to talk to Lily about it first. Let me see what she thinks." "Of course," Mr. Evans replied. "I completely understand. Just let me know when you're ready." Maria hung up the phone and sat in silence for a moment. She couldn't help but feel torn. She wanted to give Lily this chance to bond with Mr. Evans, but the thought of a family outing felt overwhelming. She had always been enough for Lily. Now, she had to make space for someone else, someone who had been absent for so long. But as she sat there, she realized something. This wasn't about her. It was about Lily. She had always done everything for her daughter, and now, it was time to trust that they could both find a new path forward together. That evening, after dinner, Maria sat down with Lily, who was coloring at the table. "Sweetheart," Maria said gently, "I've been talking to Mr. Evans, and he wants to take us out tomorrow. Just the three of us. A day to spend together outside of the house. How does that sound?" Lily's face lit up, her excitement palpable. "That sounds fun. I want to spend time with Mr. Evans. I think he's really nice, Mom." Maria smiled, her heart aching with the mixture of emotions. "Okay then. We'll go. But we'll take it slow. And remember, if at any point you feel uncomfortable, we'll leave. We'll go home together, all right?" "All right, Mom," Lily said, her voice full of confidence. Maria took a deep breath, knowing that this was a big step, but it was one that Lily needed to take. And perhaps, so did she. The next day, the three of them met up at a local park. The weather was perfect, the sun shining brightly in the sky. Lily ran ahead, eager to explore, while Maria and Mr. Evans walked behind, talking softly. It felt different, being there together, but not uncomfortable. As they sat on a bench, watching Lily run around with a new energy, Maria realized that she didn't need to be afraid. This wasn't a competition. It wasn't about losing her place as Lily's mother. It was about expanding their world, creating a bigger, more fulfilling life for her daughter. As the day went on, Maria found herself relaxing. Mr. Evans wasn't trying to take over or replace her. He was just trying to be a part of Lily's life. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. As the sun began to set, Maria looked over at Lily, who was laughing with Mr. Evans. She was happy. That was all that mattered. Maria smiled, her heart light. For the first time in a long while, she felt like they were heading in the right direction. The days after the family outing continued to feel like a slow shift towards something Maria wasn't quite ready to define. She had seen the bond growing between Lily and Mr. Evans, and though she still felt like a visitor in a space that had once been all her own, she could no longer deny the small victories they were achieving together. Lily had started asking for Mr. Evans more often, and though Maria's heart swelled with pride, a part of her still hesitated. Was this truly what she wanted? Was it what Lily needed? It was a constant back and forth in her mind, the weight of change settling into her bones in a way that felt unfamiliar and unsettling. But Maria also realized that Lily was no longer the little girl who needed her for every little thing. She was growing, learning, and perhaps, more than anything, she needed to know she had a support system beyond just Maria. For Maria, that was a hard truth to swallow. She had worked so hard to be everything for Lily. She had sacrificed dreams, friendships, and even parts of her own identity to be the mother she thought Lily needed. And now, with Mr. Evans in their lives, it felt like a small part of that control was slipping away. One Saturday, after a long week of work, Maria decided it was time for another conversation. She could feel the growing distance between herself and Mr. Evans. It wasn't anything he had done. It was her own internal battle, her own struggle to accept the change. She needed clarity, and the only way to get it was to talk to him. She called him, and, after a few rings, he answered. "Hey, Maria," he said, his voice warm but cautious, as if he had been expecting her call. "Hi, Mr. Evans," Maria began, her voice steady but with a hint of uncertainty. "I was wondering if we could talk. I've been thinking a lot about where we are and where this is all headed." There was a brief pause on the other end, and she could feel the tension start to build, even over the phone. "Of course, Maria," Mr. Evans replied. "Let's meet at the park again tomorrow. We can talk things through, take our time. No pressure." The next day, they met at the same park where they had spent so many quiet afternoons together. It was still early, the sun low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the playground where Lily had played only weeks before. Maria felt the weight of the conversation settle on her shoulders as she approached Mr. Evans, who was already sitting on a bench, waiting for her. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, sitting down beside him. "I just need to be honest with you. There's been a lot on my mind, and I need to talk it through." Mr. Evans turned to her, his eyes full of understanding. "I'm here, Maria. You can say whatever's on your mind. I want to hear it." Maria hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I see the way things are going with Lily, and I can see how much you want to be part of her life. I'm just not sure how to handle it," she confessed. "I've been her everything for so long. I've protected her from so much. And now I'm not sure where I fit in anymore. I'm not sure if I'm ready to share that with you." Mr. Evans listened, his face thoughtful. "I understand," he said, his voice quiet but steady. "I never wanted to make you feel like you were being replaced, Maria. I've always known that you've been the one to raise Lily, the one who's always been there for her. I don't want to take that away. I just want to be a part of her life, in whatever way you'll allow me to be." Maria's chest tightened as she listened to his words. She had always been so sure of her place in Lily's life, and now, the lines were starting to blur. But Mr. Evans wasn't asking for everything. He was asking for a chance to be there, to be a father in a way that Maria had never had the opportunity to see before. "I know it's not easy," he continued, his gaze never leaving hers. "I know you've given so much of yourself to Lily, and I respect that more than you know. I don't want to make things harder for you. But I think we need to figure out what this new dynamic looks like for all of us." Maria nodded, though her heart was still conflicted. "I just don't know if I can let go," she said softly. "I've been everything to her, and I don't know what happens when you step into that space." "You're not losing anything, Maria," Mr. Evans said gently. "You're gaining something. A partnership. I don't want to take over. I just want to support you both." The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Maria didn't know how to respond. She wanted to believe him, but it was hard to shake the feeling that something was slipping away from her. "I've been thinking about it," Maria said, her voice quiet. "And I think I'm ready to try. I don't know what this looks like yet, but I want to give you a chance. And I want to see where this goes." Mr. Evans smiled, his relief palpable. "Thank you, Maria. I promise you, I'm not here to complicate things. I'm just here to be a part of your lives, in whatever way you're comfortable with." Maria nodded slowly, still processing everything. She didn't have all the answers yet, but she knew one thing for sure. She couldn't keep holding on to the fear of what might happen. It was time to move forward. As they sat in silence, watching the sun dip lower in the sky, Maria realized that this was only the beginning of a new chapter. She didn't know how things would turn out, but she felt a small spark of hope. They were taking it one step at a time, together. Months passed, and the shifts in their lives became less noticeable, like the gradual change of seasons. Maria had come to accept the presence of Mr. Evans in their lives, but it had taken time. She could see the way Lily had embraced the idea of having him around. The father-daughter bond was growing stronger with every passing day, and while Maria had her moments of doubt, she couldn't deny that Lily was thriving. It was a slow and steady progress, one that made Maria realize she was no longer afraid of losing her place in Lily's world. In fact, she had gained something new, a partnership, a shared responsibility for the future. It wasn't perfect, and it would never be exactly what Maria had envisioned for her daughter's life, but it was enough. It was more than enough. On a cool autumn evening, Maria sat on the couch with Lily, who was flipping through a book, her face lit by the soft glow of the lamp. The house was quiet, peaceful even. Maria had never realized how much she had longed for this peace until she had it. Lily looked up from her book, her eyes shining with something new, something Maria hadn't seen before. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Lily said, her voice shy yet hopeful. Maria smiled softly, setting down the magazine she had been reading. "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind? Do you think Mr. Evans will always be around?" Lily asked, her tone filled with the kind of quiet curiosity that only a child could possess. Maria's heart skipped a beat at the question. She had never expected Lily to ask something like this. It was a simple question, but it carried so much weight. "I think so, honey," Maria replied, her voice steady. "I think he's going to be a part of our lives for a long time." Lily's face lit up with a small smile. "I'm glad," she said softly. "I like having him around." Maria's heart swelled. She had always wanted the best for her daughter, but in this moment, she realized that Lily had already found something important, a connection to a father, someone who cared, someone who wanted to be there for her. And Maria had to admit that she was learning to share that space, to allow someone else to be there for both of them. As the weeks continued, Maria found herself becoming more comfortable with the changes. Mr. Evans had continued to be patient, understanding, and respectful of the boundaries they had set. He never pushed, but he was always there when needed. He had integrated into their lives in ways that felt natural, helping Lily with school projects, attending her extracurricular events, and even spending weekends together as a family. Slowly, Maria began to realize that she wasn't losing anything by allowing Mr. Evans into their lives. Instead, she was gaining a new kind of support system, one that was built on trust, patience, and respect. One evening, as the three of them sat at the dinner table, Maria looked at the two of them, Lily, who had her father's smile, and Mr. Evans, who had become more than just a distant figure in their lives. He had become a partner in raising Lily, and in many ways, a partner in Maria's life. "You know," Maria said, breaking the silence, "I never imagined things would turn out like this. I didn't know how I was going to feel about everything. But I think we've come a long way." Mr. Evans looked at her, his expression warm and appreciative. "I'm glad we found our way," he said. "I know it hasn't always been easy, but I'm here for both of you. I'm not going anywhere." Maria smiled, her eyes soft. "I know, and I'm learning to trust that." The moment felt like a small victory for Maria, one that she had fought for quietly over time. She had let go of some of her fears and learned to trust again. It wasn't always easy, but it was worth it. And as they finished dinner, Maria realized that what they had now was real. It wasn't a perfect picture of a family, but it was theirs. It was built on understanding and love, and it was more than enough. As the days turned into months, Maria began to see the changes more clearly. Lily had grown closer to Mr. Evans, but she had also grown closer to Maria. The balance between them felt more natural now, and Maria had stopped worrying about losing her place in Lily's heart. Instead, she had started to embrace the idea of expanding their family, not by blood, but by choice. And that was something beautiful. It was in the small moments, Lily asking for Mr. Evans' help with her homework, the three of them sharing a laugh over a funny movie, the way they all worked together to create a home filled with warmth and understanding. Maria had finally come to terms with the fact that she wasn't losing Lily. She was gaining more of what she had always wanted, a loving, supportive family. As they stood together in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner, Maria looked at Lily and Mr. Evans, her heart full. She had never expected this, but now she couldn't imagine life any other way. "Thank you," Maria said, her voice full of emotion. "Thank you both for being here, for making this work." Mr. Evans smiled, taking her hand. "Thank you for letting me in, Maria. I've never known a love like this before." Lily looked up at both of them, her eyes shining with happiness. "I love you both," she said softly. And in that moment, Maria realized that they had found something far more powerful than she could have ever imagined. Peace, love, and a sense of belonging that would carry them through whatever came next. Together, they were more than just a family. They were a team, ready to face whatever the future held. Maria smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. No matter what came next, she knew that they were ready to take it on together.